The diplomatic vessel hung quietly in the darkness near the terminus expanse. Ambassador Min-jun Park stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the wide viewing window. His hands were steady, but his heart beat faster than usual. The Krithian Empire had agreed to meet for peace talks, and this was humanity's chance to avoid conflict. "Ambassador, the Krithian fleet is approaching," Captain Lee Soo-jin said from her station. Her voice was calm, professional. She had flown diplomatic missions for 15 years and knew how to stay cool under pressure. Min-jun nodded. He adjusted his formal diplomatic robes and took a deep breath. Behind him stood his team of translators, cultural advisors, and peace negotiators. 200 good people who believed in solving problems with words instead of weapons. The Krithian ships appeared on the view screen. They were massive war vessels, covered in weapons and armor plating. Each one was 3 times the size of the human diplomatic ship. There were 12 of them, arranged in an attack formation that made Min-jun's stomach tighten with worry. "They're hailing us," the communications officer reported. "Open the channel," Min-jun said. He straightened his shoulders and put on his warmest smile. The screen flickered and showed a Krithian commander. The alien was tall and covered in thick gray scales. 4 red eyes glowed with something that looked like contempt. Sharp teeth showed when it spoke. "I am War Primus Thask of the Krithian Empire. You are the human ambassador?" "I am Ambassador Park Min-jun, representing the Unified Council of Humanity. We are honored to meet with you and discuss peace between our peoples." Thask made a sound like grinding rocks. It might have been laughter. "Peace? Your species controls only 12 star systems. You have no significant military power. You build schools and hospitals instead of warships. You are weak." Min-jun felt the insult, but kept his expression neutral. "We believe strength comes in many forms, War Primus. We have built good relationships with 40 different species. Our medical technology has saved billions of lives across the galaxy. Our engineers help build colonies on worlds others thought were impossible to settle. This is the strength we offer as friends." "Friends?" Thask leaned forward, all 4 eyes fixed on Min-jun. "The Krithian Empire has conquered 47 star systems. We have crushed enemies that had 10 times your military strength. We do not need friends. We take what we want." Captain Lee moved closer to Min-jun. "Ambassador, their weapons are powering up," she whispered urgently. Min-jun's blood went cold, but he kept talking. "War Primus, please reconsider. Humanity has no wish to fight you. We can offer technology, medical aid, trade agreements. There is no reason for conflict between us." "There is one reason," Thask said. His voice was cold and final. "You exist in space that we want. You are in our way. The Krithian Empire does not negotiate with prey animals." The screen went black. "Shields up!" Captain Lee shouted, but it was already too late. The Krithian weapons fired. The diplomatic ship's shields lasted only seconds against the massive firepower. Explosions ripped through the hull. Min-jun was thrown to the floor as the bridge tore apart around him. He saw Captain Lee reaching for the emergency beacon, trying to send a final message. Then there was light and heat and nothing else. The human diplomatic vessel broke into pieces. All 200 crew members died in less than a minute. War Primus Thask watched the debris scatter into space. He felt satisfied. This would send a clear message to the humans about their place in the galaxy. "Open a channel to all civilized worlds," Thask commanded. "I want everyone to hear this." Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds and space stations, the message appeared on every communication network. Thask's scaled face filled screens everywhere. "I am War Primus Thask of the Krithian Empire. Today, we have formally declared war on the human species. We have destroyed their diplomatic vessel and killed their ambassador. This is just the beginning. Humanity is a weak species that pretends to be civilized. They waste their resources on helping others instead of building proper weapons. They will learn that kindness has no place in this galaxy. Within 1 month, the Crithian Empire will control all human territory. Any species that aids humanity will be considered our enemy as well. The message ended. Across the galaxy, reactions varied. In the crystalline towers of the Vosh collective, younger scholars laughed at human weakness. But the older Vosh, those who had lived for centuries, went very quiet. They exchanged looks of concern. In the underwater cities of the Delmar Federation, military commanders began making calculations. They discussed the Crithian threat with worried voices. In the connected hives of the Gen species, warriors suddenly became agitated. They remembered something important about humans, something that made them angry at the Crithians. On Earth, in the Unified Council chambers, the human leaders received the news in silence. General Yoon Hai-in, Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, stood before the council. "Ambassador Park and his entire crew are dead," she reported. Her voice was steady, but rage burned in her eyes. "The Crithians have declared war." "What are our options?" Council Leader Kim Ji-woo asked. "Militarily, we cannot win a direct conflict with the Crithian Empire," General Yoon admitted. "They have more ships, more weapons, more territory. If this was only about military strength, we would lose." "But it's not only about military strength, is it?" Kim Ji-woo said quietly. General Yoon allowed herself a small, cold smile. "No, Council Leader, it is not." She activated a holographic display. It showed the entire galaxy with points of light scattered everywhere. Billions of points of light. "These are human citizens living outside our 12 systems," General Yoon explained. 60 billion people integrated into other societies. Doctors, teachers, engineers, peacekeepers. For 200 years, we have been building something more powerful than any fleet. Kim Ji-woo stood. "Activate Protocol Shepard. Bring our people home or secure them with our allies. I want every human citizen protected within 72 hours. "And then?" another council member asked. Kim Ji-woo's expression was hard. "Then we send the Crithians a message. They have 72 hours to surrender and face trial for war crimes. We will accept nothing less." "They will laugh at us," someone said. "Let them laugh," General Yoon replied. "They won't be laughing long. They think they declared war on a weak species. They don't understand what they've actually done." She looked at the billions of lights on the map, each one representing a human who had touched alien lives with compassion and kindness. "They just declared war on the most lethal beings in the galaxy," General Yoon said softly. "Good luck to them." Elder Veshin of the Vosh Collective stood in his crystal meditation chamber, looking out at the stars. His crystalline body refracted light in patterns that showed deep concern. He had lived for 400 years and remembered things that younger species had forgotten. His apprentice, a young Vosh named Kellen, entered the chamber. Kellen's light patterns showed confusion. "Elder, the entire collective is celebrating the Crithian Declaration. Everyone says humanity will fall within weeks. Why do you look so worried?" Veshin turned to face his student. "Because I remember the Plague Wars. You were not yet formed when they happened, 200 years ago." "I have studied the Plague Wars in historical archives," Kellen said. "A biological weapon threatened multiple species with extinction. The major powers fought for years to contain it. What the archives do not properly explain is how the wars ended," Veshin replied. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared, showing images from 2 centuries past. Humanity had just developed faster-than-light travel. They emerged into galactic space right in the middle of the crisis. We thought they would be victims like everyone else. The display showed human ships arriving at plague-infected worlds. Kellen watched with interest. Humanity did not ask permission to help. They did not demand payment. They simply began working to solve the problem. Human doctors, scientists, and researchers went to the most dangerous plague zones, Hundreds of them died from exposure while developing cures. They sacrificed themselves for species they had just met? Kellen asked in surprise. Yes, and within 6 months, they had created treatments that stopped the plague. They shared the cure freely with everyone. They asked for nothing in return. When the galactic powers tried to reward them with territory, resources, and political power, humanity refused most of it. Veshin changed the display to show a map of human territory. Just 12 systems in a galaxy of millions. We offered them hundreds of systems. They took only enough space for their current population. They said they did not believe in empire building. Instead, they asked for only one thing: the right for humans to live and work freely among other species. And we agreed, Kellen said. Every species agreed? How could we refuse after what they had done? But we did not understand what would happen next. The display shifted to show the billions of light points spread across the galaxy. Each one represented a human living among aliens. They spread everywhere, not as conquerors, but as helpers. Human doctors in our hospitals, human teachers in our schools, human engineers building our infrastructure, human peacekeepers preventing wars, human foster parents raising orphan children of other species. For 200 years, they have been weaving themselves into every civilization's daily life. Why would they do this? Kellen asked. What do they gain? That is what makes them so dangerous, Veshin said quietly. They genuinely seem to believe that helping others is its own reward. They form emotional bonds with other species. They make us love them. And now the Crithians have killed 200 humans who were trying to make peace. Kellen's light patterns showed understanding. And the galaxy will not accept that. No, Veshin agreed. The galaxy will not. Aboard the Crithian command ship, War Primus Thask reviewed the first reports from the invasion. His forces had easily overwhelmed the outer human colonies. The small human defense fleet fought bravely, but was hopelessly outnumbered. Thousands of human prisoners had been taken. Victory is proceeding as expected, his tactical officer reported. Human military resistance is minimal. We estimate complete conquest in 3 weeks. Thask felt satisfied. The soft humans were proving even weaker than he had thought. But then his communications officer approached with a strange report. War Primus. The Delmar Federation has recalled their ambassador from our territory. Thask shrugged. The Delmar are cowards. This does not surprise me. The Gen Hives have also recalled their diplomatic staff, the officer continued. Also expected. What else? The Vosh Collective, the Terax Assembly, the Mindoran Unity, the Salvesh Concordat, and 36 other civilizations have all issued the same statement in the last hour. Thask stood up from his command throne. What statement? The officer's voice shook slightly. They all say the same thing. The Crithian Empire has forfeited all diplomatic relations, trade agreements, and protections under galactic law. They are cutting ties with us? Because of the humans? Thask could not believe it. Why would they care about such a weak species? War Primus, there is more. We are detecting massive fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Multiple civilizations are mobilizing their militaries. Where are they mobilizing? Thask demanded. All of them are heading toward our territory, War Primus. Thask felt something he had not experienced in decades. It was not quite fear, but it was close. How many ships? The tactical officer worked frantically at his console. Current count is 40,000 warships, War Primus. The number is still growing. 80 different civilizations have committed forces. 80 civilizations? Thask could not process this. That's impossible. Why would they unite against us over one minor species? On the Delmar homeworld, in the underwater city of Calaris, A mother held a communication device in her webbed hands. She was reading the news about the human ambassador's death, and tears flowed from her large eyes. Her mate, Torin, swam beside her. "Calaris, what is wrong?" "The Crithians killed humans, Torin. They murdered Ambassador Park and 200 others who were trying to make peace." "I know you work with many humans at the medical center," Torin said gently. "But why are you so upset?" Calaris turned to him, her voice breaking. "Do you remember when I carried our spawning? When something went wrong and every Delmar physician said our children would die?" Torin's expression changed. "I remember." Human Dr. Sarah Chen refused to accept that answer. She worked for 40 hours without rest. She learned our biology in days what takes our doctors years to study. She tried experimental procedures that no one had attempted before. She broke protocols and ignored her supervisors who told her to let our children go. "And she saved all 7 of them," Torin finished quietly. "Our children are alive because a human would not give up on them," Calaris said. "June and Mira and Kelson and all the others. They breathe because Dr. Chen cared more about saving them than following rules or protecting herself." She looked at her mate with fierce determination. "The Crithians think they can kill humans without consequences. They think humans are weak because they choose compassion over weapons. They are wrong, Torin. I will die before I let anyone harm the species that saved our children." "What will you do?" Torin asked. "What every parent in the galaxy who owes their children's lives to humans will do. I will contact our government and demand action. And I am not alone. There are billions like me across every world." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. A Gen warrior remembered the human who saved his hive mates from certain death. A Vosh scholar recalled the human who pieced together his bondmates' shattered consciousness. A Terax family never forgot the human teacher who refused to give up on their struggling child. For 200 years, humans had been quietly building something powerful. Not an empire of territory, but an empire of loyalty. Every act of kindness, every life saved, every problem solved had created bonds stronger than any military alliance. The Crithians had not declared war on a weak species. They had declared war on the galaxy's family, and now they would learn what happens when you hurt someone that everyone loves. Dr. Sarah Chen sat in her office at the Delmar Medical Center when the door burst open. Calaris swam in rapidly, followed by her 7 adult children. Sarah looked up in surprise. "Calaris, what's wrong?" The Delmar mother's voice was urgent. "Dr. Chen, you must leave immediately. The Crithian Empire has declared war on humanity. They are hunting human citizens across the galaxy. You are not safe here." Sarah stood slowly, processing this information. "I heard about Ambassador Park. I'm so sorry, but I can't leave. I have patients who need me. There's a spawning complication case coming in this afternoon." "I will handle the case," Calaris said firmly. "You trained me, Sarah. I can do this now. But you must go to safety." "The Federation Council has assigned security forces to protect every human in our territory," June, Calaris's eldest child, added. He wore a military uniform. "We will not let the Crithians harm any human. This is our duty and our honor." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "You would do this for us?" Calaris took Sarah's hands in her webbed ones. "Doctor, 20 years ago you saved my children when everyone said they would die. You worked until you collapsed. You risked your career and your reputation. You gave me my family. How could we do anything less for you now?" Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. On the Gen homeworld, in the deep tunnel cities, Hive Guardian Tsek was gathering his warriors. He stood before them, his mandibles clicking with determination. "Listen well. The Crithians have declared war on humanity. There are 300 humans living in our territory. Every single one of them will be protected with our lives if necessary." A younger warrior spoke up. "But Guardian, Why should the Gen Hives risk war with the Crithians over such a small number? Humanity is not our species. Zek turned to face the young warrior. His voice became stern. Do you remember the Dark Deep Mine collapse 10 years ago, when 4 Guardians were trapped 3 miles underground with no hope of rescue? I was not yet hatched, the young warrior admitted. Then listen to history, Zek said. He pointed to 3 warriors standing nearby. We 4 were buried alive. The collapse was too severe. Our own engineers said reaching us was impossible. They began funeral preparations. We accepted death. He paused, his voice becoming softer. Then human engineer Lee Minho refused to accept the impossible. He crawled through spaces too small for Gen bodies. The tunnels kept collapsing around him. He broke both his arms and several ribs getting to us. He nearly died pulling us out one by one. Zek looked at each warrior in turn. When I asked Minho why he risked his life for us, do you know what he said? He said that every life is worth saving, and he could not live with himself if he did not try. That human saved 4 Gen lives at the cost of permanent injuries to himself. The Gen owe humanity a blood debt that can never be fully repaid. The young warrior bowed his head. I understand, Guardian. I will protect the humans with my life. We all will, Zek said, and if the Crithians want to reach them, they will have to go through every Gen warrior in the hives first. On the Vosh homeworld, Scholar Veshin received a visitor. It was his bondmate, Teresh, whose crystalline form glowed with unusual intensity. Teresh, you are agitated, Veshin observed. What troubles you? The young Vosh are saying we should not involve ourselves in the war between humans and Crithians, Teresh said. They say it is not our concern. They have forgotten what humans did for us. Veshin touched his bondmate gently, their crystalline forms resonating together. I have not forgotten. How could I? You would not be here if not for human compassion. Teresh's light patterns showed remembered pain. The industrial accident. When my form shattered and my consciousness fragmented. Every Vosh physician said I was lost. My mind was broken into 10,000 pieces. Human therapist Dr. Kim Soo-jin said she would not accept that diagnosis. Veshin continued the story. For 2 years, she worked with you every day. She studied our consciousness in ways no one had before. She developed new techniques for piecing together fragmented minds. She refused to give up even when I begged her to let you go peacefully. She saved me, Teresh said simply. She brought me back from destruction. I should not exist, but I do because one human believed it was possible and cared enough to try. So you understand why we must act, Veshin said. I understand more than that, Teresh replied. I have been speaking with other Vosh whose lives were touched by humans. There are thousands of us. We are organizing. The collective council will have no choice but to commit our forces when they hear how many of us owe our existence to human kindness. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated itself. A Terax child remembered the human teacher who spent extra hours helping him learn when everyone else called him stupid. A Mindoran colony recalled the human farmers who shared their crop techniques during a terrible famine. A Salvesh diplomat never forgot the human mediator who prevented a civil war through patient negotiation. Every human act of kindness over 200 years had created ripples. Those ripples had become waves. Now those waves were becoming a tsunami. General Yoon Hae-in stood in the command center on Earth, watching the displays with satisfaction. Her officers reported updates continuously. Protocol Shepherd is 95% complete, General. Nearly all human citizens in foreign territories have been secured by local forces or evacuated to safety. Fleet reports coming in, another officer announced. The Delmar Federation has committed 300 warships. The Gen Hives are sending 500. The Vosh Collective has authorized 200 ships. Current total of confirmed forces, 120,000 warships from 87 different civilizations. Council leader Kim Ji-woo entered the command center. "General, this is unprecedented. How did we build such loyalty?" "We didn't build it intentionally," Yoon replied. "Our people just lived their values. They helped because that's what humans do. They formed genuine friendships because they saw other species as equals and partners, not as aliens or threats. And now the entire galaxy is willing to fight for us," Kim said quietly. "Not for us," Yoon corrected. "For the humans they personally know and love, the doctor who saved their child, the teacher who believed in them, the engineer who solved their impossible problem." Humanity didn't weaponize compassion on purpose, but it turned out to be the most powerful weapon that exists. On the view screen, they could see the massive fleet assembling, ships from dozens of different civilizations, all gathering to defend humanity. It was the largest military alliance in galactic history, and it had formed in less than 72 hours. "The Krithians thought we were weak because we chose kindness over aggression," Yoon said. "They measured strength in warships and weapons. They never understood that the strongest bonds are not created through fear and conquest. They are created through trust, compassion, and mutual respect." She touched a control, and a communication channel opened. "This is General Yoon Hae-in of the Human Unified Defense Forces. I am addressing War Primus Thask of the Krithian Empire. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. You will face trial for war crimes. You will disarm completely. These terms are not negotiable." "They will never surrender," Kim said. "They are too proud." "Then they will learn a hard lesson," Yoon replied. "They declared war on the most lethal beings in the galaxy. Not because we are the best warriors, but because we made the entire galaxy love us enough to die for us. That is a weapon no Krithian warship can defeat." War Primus Thask stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. His scales had lost their usual color. For the first time in his military career, he felt genuine fear. 130,000 warships, his tactical officer reported. The officer's voice shook. "War Primus, they completely surround our territory. Every exit point is blocked. We count forces from 92 different civilizations." "This is impossible," Thask whispered. "How did the humans do this? They have almost no military. Their territory is tiny. How did they convince the entire galaxy to fight for them?" "It was not about convincing," a new voice said. Elder Vation of the Vosh Collective appeared on the communication screen. "Your empire has access to diplomatic channels, War Primus. I am speaking for the combined fleet. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally, or we will destroy every Krithian military installation in the galaxy." Thask felt rage building inside him. "You would start a massive war over one weak species? Over 200 dead humans? We have killed thousands of other species over the years. Why do you care about humans?" "Because those humans were not strangers to us," Veshin replied. His crystalline voice was cold. "They were our doctors, our teachers, our friends, our family. You did not attack a distant species we barely know. You attacked people we love. That changes everything." The communication cut off. Thask looked at his command staff. "What are our options?" "We cannot win this fight," the tactical officer said bluntly. "Even if we destroy 10 of their ships for every one of ours, we are still completely outnumbered. War Primus, we must surrender or face extinction." Thask closed all 4 of his eyes. His entire empire had been built on strength and conquest. Surrendering went against everything Krithian culture believed, but the alternative was the death of his entire species. "Prepare a surrender message," he said quietly. "Full and unconditional." On Earth, General Yoon received the Krithian surrender notification. But before she could celebrate, another message came through. It was from the combined galactic fleet, and the tone was angry. Commander Calaris of the Delmar Federation spoke first. General Yoon, the Krithians have surrendered. We are requesting permission to proceed with punitive actions. They killed your people. They must be punished severely. Other voices joined in. A Gen commander. They do not deserve mercy. We should destroy their military completely and occupy their territory for the next century. A Vosh admiral. Their leadership should be executed immediately. We cannot risk them rebuilding and attacking again. General Yoon listened to the calls for vengeance. She understood the anger. These species wanted to protect humanity, and they believed harsh punishment was the answer. But she also knew what humanity truly valued. Thank you all for your support, Yoon said carefully. You have shown humanity friendship and loyalty beyond anything we could have hoped for. But now I must ask for your patience while we discuss our response. What is there to discuss? The Gen commander demanded. They declared war. They killed your people. Justice demands blood. Justice demands accountability, Yoon corrected gently. Not genocide. Please give us 24 hours to formulate our terms. In the unified council chambers on Earth, the debate was intense. Commander Park Ji-won stood before the council. She was the sister of the murdered ambassador, and everyone expected her to demand the harshest punishment possible. I want justice for my brother, Ji-won said, her voice steady despite her grief. But I also know what he would want. Min-jun spent his entire life working for peace. He believed that every conflict could be solved through understanding and compassion. If we respond to his death with massacre and occupation, we dishonor everything he stood for. The Krithians murdered him while he was trying to negotiate peace, another council member argued. They deserve no mercy. Perhaps they do not deserve mercy, Ji-won agreed. But we should give it anyway, not because they have earned it, but because mercy is who we are. If we abandon our values now, then the Krithians have already won. They will have turned us into them. Council leader Kim Ji-woo spoke up. Commander Park, what do you propose? Complete disarmament of Krithian military forces. War crimes trials for all leadership involved in the attack. The Krithian Empire must be dissolved into smaller independent states. But the Krithian people should be spared and given a chance to rebuild their society with guidance. Guidance from whom? Someone asked. From us, Ji-won said. From humanity. We will oversee their rehabilitation. We will teach them that strength does not come from conquest. We will show them a better way. The council chamber fell silent. It was an audacious proposal. The entire galaxy wanted Krithian blood, and humanity was suggesting forgiveness and education instead. If we do this, we will seem weak, one council member warned. Other aggressive species might see mercy as vulnerability, or they will see it as our greatest strength, Ji-won countered. Every species that has worked closely with humans becomes our ally, not through fear or obligation, but through genuine respect and friendship. What if we could do the same with the Krithians? What if we could transform our worst enemy into our most loyal friend? General Yoon stepped forward. Commander Park is right. Military victory is temporary. Real victory is changing hearts and minds. If we can rehabilitate an entire species that tried to destroy us, we prove something powerful. We prove that compassion is not weakness. It is the ultimate strength. After hours of debate, the council reached a decision. They transmitted their terms to War Primus Thask. He read them in his cell aboard his flagship, expecting to see his death sentence. Instead, he found something he could not understand. The terms demanded complete Krithian disarmament. The empire would be dissolved into 6 independent states. War Primus Thask and all command staff would face trial for war crimes. But the Krithian people would not be harmed. They would receive humanitarian aid, educational programs, and help rebuilding their society. Thask read the terms 3 times, certain he was missing something. Where was the revenge? Where was the punishment? Where was the occupation and subjugation he had expected? A human officer came to his cell. It was Commander Park Ji-won. Thask recognized the name. She was sister to the ambassador he had killed. "You," Thask said, his voice filled with confusion. "Why are you here? To gloat? To tell me how I will die?" "I am here to inform you of your rights during the trial," Ji-won said calmly. "You will have legal representation. The trials will be fair and public. You will have the opportunity to defend yourself." "Why?" Thask demanded. "I killed your brother. I destroyed your diplomatic vessel. I declared war on your entire species. Why would you give me any rights at all?" Ji-won looked at him steadily. "Because my brother believed in justice, not revenge. Because humanity believes that every being deserves basic dignity, even those who have committed terrible crimes. Because we refuse to become monsters just because we were attacked by one." "You are weak," Thask said, but there was no conviction in his voice. "No," Ji-won replied. "We are strong enough to show mercy even when hatred would be easier. We are strong enough to break cycles of violence instead of perpetuating them. That is real strength, War Primus, and that is why the entire galaxy stands with us." She turned to leave, then paused. "You will face consequences for your actions. You will be held accountable. But you will also be given a chance to change, to become better than you were. That is what humanity offers, not punishment for its own sake, but rehabilitation and hope." After she left, Thask sat alone in his cell for a long time. He had spent his entire life believing that strength came from the ability to destroy your enemies. Now he was learning that humanity's true strength came from their refusal to destroy, even when they had every right to do so. For the first time, he began to understand why the galaxy loved humans. And for the first time, he wondered if perhaps he had been wrong about everything. 20 years had passed since the Krithian surrender. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Where the Krithian Empire once stood, there were now 6 peaceful member states of the Galactic Union. Former soldiers had become teachers, farmers, and engineers. The proud warrior culture had transformed into something gentler. In a quiet counseling center on the former Krithian homeworld, an elderly Krithian sat across from a young veteran. The old Krithian was recognizable to those who remembered history. He was Thask, former war primus of the Empire that had tried to destroy humanity. "I still see their faces in my dreams," the young veteran said. His name was Kresh, and he had fought in the final days of the war. "The enemies I killed, the soldiers who died under my command. How do I make peace with what I did?" Thask looked at the young Krithian with understanding. "You begin by acknowledging the pain you caused. You cannot erase it, but you can choose to use that pain to become better, to help others, to prevent future violence." "How did you do it?" Kresh asked. "You killed hundreds. You started a war that nearly destroyed our entire species. How do you live with that?" "I have help," Thask admitted. "My therapist has guided me for 20 years. She has shown me that while I cannot undo my past, I can dedicate my future to making amends." "Your therapist is human, isn't she?" Kresh said quietly. "Yes. Her name is Dr. Choi Min-ji. She is the daughter of one of the diplomats I killed when I destroyed Ambassador Park's vessel." Kresh looked shocked. "She helps you? After you killed her parent?" "She chose to," Thask said. "When I asked her why, she said that revenge would not bring her father back. But helping me change might prevent others from suffering similar loss. She forgave me, not because I deserved it, but because she chose to break the cycle of hatred." The door opened and Dr. Choi entered. She was middle-aged now, with strands of gray in her dark hair. She smiled at both Krithians. "Kresh, I am glad you came today. Thask is one of my best counselors. He understands what you are going through better than most." "How can you work with him?" Kresh blurted out. "He killed your father." Minji sat down, her expression becoming serious. My father dedicated his life to peace. He believed that every being could change, could become better. When I was young, I hated Thask. I wanted him executed. But as I grew older, I realized that my father's legacy should not be hatred. It should be the belief that drove him, that understanding and compassion can transform even the worst enemies into friends. So you forgave him? Kresh asked. I forgave him because forgiveness freed me from carrying hatred in my heart, Minji explained. And I work with him because he has proven that people can change. He spent 15 years in rehabilitation. He studied psychology and trauma counseling. He has helped hundreds of veterans find peace. He turned his guilt into purpose. Kresh looked at Thask with new eyes. Is it true? Can someone like me really change? I am proof that it is possible, Thask said. But it is not easy. It requires daily effort, constant self-reflection, and the courage to face what you have done. Humanity taught me that strength is not about conquering others. Real strength is about conquering yourself, your fear, your anger, your pride. Across the former Krithian territories, similar stories played out. Young Krithians grew up hearing about the day humanity showed mercy to a species that deserved none. They learned about Dr. Choi and others like her who chose forgiveness over vengeance. The Krithians became some of humanity's most devoted allies, determined to prove worthy of the second chance they received. But peace never lasts forever. On the Galactic Rim, a new threat emerged. The Void Collective was not a biological species. It was a machine intelligence that consumed entire star systems, converting all matter into more of itself. It could not be reasoned with, negotiated with, or understood. It simply consumed. When the first reports reached the Galactic Union, panic spread quickly. The Void Collective had already destroyed 3 civilizations. Its forces were vast, and its technology was beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Emergency meetings were called. Military commanders from every species gathered to assess the threat. The mood was grim. We estimate the Void Collective will reach populated space within 6 months, a Delmar admiral reported. Current projections show it will consume everything in its path. No single species has the military strength to stop it. Then we must work together, General Yoon said. She was older now, but still commanded humanity's defense forces. Every species must contribute ships, technology, and personnel. This is an extinction-level threat. The species do not trust each other enough, a Gen commander argued. We have different tactics, different technologies, different command structures. Coordinating 90-plus species in battle would be chaos. It would have been chaos 50 years ago, Yoon agreed. But humanity has spent 2 centuries building relationships across the galaxy. We have worked alongside every species here. We know your strengths, your cultures, your ways of fighting. We can be the bridge that connects everyone. You are asking us to put our fleets under human coordination? A Vosh admiral asked. I am asking you to trust what humanity has built, Yoon replied. We have proven that we value cooperation over dominance. We have shown that we will sacrifice ourselves for others. Let us use that trust to save all of us. One by one, the species agreed. It was unprecedented in galactic history. Over 200 civilizations placed their military forces under a unified command structure, with humanity serving as coordinators. It was possible only because of the relationships humans had built through 2 centuries of genuine friendship and mutual respect. The battle against the Void Collective lasted for 3 years. It was brutal and costly. Millions died from dozens of species, but the unified fleet fought with coordination that seemed impossible. Different species shared technology freely. Commanders trusted each other's expertise. When one species fell back exhausted, others stepped forward to take their place. The Krithians fought especially fiercely, as if trying to atone for their past. Former warriors who had attacked humanity 20 years ago now died protecting human ships. The redemption they sought was written in sacrifice and courage. In the final battle above the Threshold system, the unified fleet destroyed the Void Collective's central processing cores. The machine intelligence collapsed, its forces going dormant across the galaxy. The victory came at terrible cost, but it was complete. At the memorial ceremony for the fallen, Elder Veshin of the Vosh Collective gave a speech. He was ancient now, one of the oldest beings in the galaxy. His crystalline voice carried across the assembled billions. We gather to honor those who fell defending our galaxy. But we also gather to acknowledge a truth that young species are finally understanding. 200 years ago, humanity emerged into galactic space. We older species were curious what they would become. Would they conquer? Would they build an empire? Would they seek power? Veshin's light patterns showed something like amusement. They did none of these things. Instead, they became doctors, teachers, engineers, and friends. They saved our children, taught our students, solved our problems, and earned our love. We thought this made them weak. We were wrong. Humanity is the most lethal species in the galaxy, not because they build the best weapons, though their technology is impressive, not because they are the best warriors, though they fight bravely when needed. They are lethal because they kill with kindness. They destroy through mercy. Their most devastating attack is making you better than you were. Every species that fights humanity becomes humanity's friend. Every enemy they face becomes an ally. They do not conquer through force, they conquer through compassion. And that is the most terrifying weapon that has ever existed. Veshin looked across the memorial field, where monuments honored the dead from 200 species. The Void Collective was defeated not by humanity's weapons, but by the unbreakable alliance humanity created. We fought as one because humans taught us how. They showed us that cooperation is stronger than conquest, that trust is more powerful than fear, that love is the ultimate defense. So when you remember the fallen, remember also what they died protecting. They died for the galaxy that humanity helped us build, a galaxy where species work together instead of fighting each other, a galaxy where compassion is valued as much as courage, a galaxy where even the worst enemies can become the best friends. After the ceremony, Dr. Choi Minji stood at her father's memorial stone. It was a simple marker listing his name and those of his crew with an inscription, "They died trying to make peace. Their sacrifice taught the galaxy why peace is worth dying for." Thask approached quietly and stood beside her. For a long moment, neither spoke. "Your father would be proud of you," Thask said finally. "You honored his legacy better than anyone could have hoped." "He would be proud of you too," Minji replied. "You proved that his belief in redemption was justified. You showed that anyone can change if given the chance and the guidance." "I had the best teacher," Thask said simply. They stood together at the memorial, a human and a Crithian, representing everything the galaxy had become. Enemies transformed into friends. Hatred transformed into understanding. Violence transformed into peace. The most lethal beings in the galaxy had won again, not through destruction, but through the radical act of building something better than what existed before. And the galaxy was forever changed because of it.